Hello. Welcome to Essential Living with Pilar. Getting ready to start the new year on the right foot. Essential Living with, I'm Pilar, obviously. Essential Living is a show about all things holistic, how to create a better world for yourself, both inner and outer, and therefore affect your force field, your sphere of influence, your home, the world you dwell in, and everybody around it. But it all starts with you. So let's start the year with an awareness of priorities and what's important. 2017 had a lot of weight to it in every way, and we've been pulled in many directions. So for me, and I always want to share what I'm doing with what's going on with me, just to see if it's of assistance. And for me, it's a matter of taking away now for the new year the attention away from all the outer noise, and go within to really fill my tank with the energy that I need in order to do the things that I want to do. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to pour from your overflow. So there is no overflow if you have an empty tank. And that means self-care, taking care of yourself first, both inside and outside, because there is no, you can do a million things for yourself externally that have no impact if you don't do the internal work too. But there's no space in your available energy to give to yourself if you're scattered and spreading yourself too thin over the same activities that you've been habitually doing for X amount of time, whatever that means for you. And Einstein said, and it's very true, that the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same things over and over the same way and expect different results. So for the new year, my purpose, not my purpose, I have other purposes, but my intention and my drive is to really set some time for everything that's important in an allocated, scheduled way. Because if we don't schedule something, it doesn't happen. And for those that are busier than others, it's important to do it. And they do say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person, because they know how to schedule themselves. But what's happening is burnout when it's too much. When it's too much for other people and not enough for you. And that is easy when for people that are caregivers or caretakers of family and children or friends, or the people that are always willing to be helpful, end up draining themselves. And in a way too, it's a form of escapism, because if you're busy taking care of everybody else out here, then you kind of leave yourself in the back burner and leave yourself for last, which means it doesn't happen, which leads to all sorts of issues that you don't want to have. Like, you end up getting sick, wearing yourself down, getting your immune system worn out. And I'm saying it because what brought it to my attention, which has been being brought to my attention regularly, but I have this little rash in my eye. And this little rash in my eye is a little eczema rash. And eczema in general comes out, when you have a sensitivity to some of the things you eat, because you are a little tired and run down, and so you go for a comfort food, and it may be junk food, like stuff with sugar, or stuff that is not optimal and is definitely not nourishing. And also stress. Stress and anxiety weakens the immune system, so the skin is like the perfect reminder of things like that. So I realized that as much as I think I take care of myself, and by most standards I do, not nearly enough. So I wanted to invite you to, as the new year begins, to review your schedule and eliminate most of it from whatever you usually do. Break the habits that you've had of behavior and going to the same activities all the time, and there's nothing wrong with those things, but I just want you to mix it up a little bit. Get rid of some of the things that you've been doing on a regular basis that you just now do it by habit and not really things that you may even enjoy anymore, and clear that space and time and energy to feed yourself, to feed your soul, to spend time with you. And self-care can be manifested in a variety of different ways. But I particularly encourage you to carve out time for being alone. And a lot of people don't like to be alone. It's very scary. They always have to have either a company or an external stimulation or input, like people that have the TV on all the time just because they want to have something in the background. They don't know what it's like to be in peaceful silence, so they need to have some sounds going on all the time, or people talking. I mean, replace that with maybe some soothing music. As a suggestion. So to get your attention away from that constant connection to the outer world and just mundane activities. And really take the time to look at, now as you're planning the new year, because we all do, and make some changes on how you allocate the time of day for yourself, and start deciding what you want to do, or what you're willing to do, what you can do to take care of yourself. And that can manifest in many different ways. So you're really going to have to challenge yourself to go back to you, to the real deep you, and ask yourself, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? What are things that you've been putting off because you've been scheduling your kids or your friends or something that you always put yourself, or your spouse, or you always put yourself last, or you put yourself on the permanent waiting list in your own life? So I want you to think about that. And if you already are filling in your calendars with the same things that are carrying over, before you put that in, in ink, as it were, start looking through what you can eliminate that you really don't need to do as much of, at least. And so what you want to do is figure out what can you do to carve out time for yourself. And we have a lot of time in a day, in a week, in a month, that we just waste. And I call the episode Protect the Asset, because you are your asset. And especially if you are like the head of a household, or you're a caregiver, like I said before, if you don't take care of you, which is the asset to yourself and in your home and in your environment and your family, if you were to break down, what would happen? Chaos would ensue, right? So you have to protect the asset. You're the most important. If you're the producer, if you're the caregiver, if you're the one that runs the show, you got to protect you first, and everybody else can wait, at least some, right? So you have to carve out time to take care of you, because without you, nothing else really happens. And that may be the case. That would be good to happen anyway, to let go of some of the responsibilities you've taken on and delegate. So that's another thing that it would be good to learn. I know that I need to learn that, to delegate activities that you don't need to be doing to somebody else that can do them, and that'll empower them and get them off their butts. Those of you that are laughing now know that I'm talking to you. So if you look at the amount of time in a week, there's a lot of hours that go wasted. So if you add up the amount of times of 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, Let's calculate that. So I'm going to give you some homework. Pull out your pen and paper and your pad, whatever. I always suggest for those that are just maybe watching for the first time, if you choose to join us again, get a little notepad, because I always make you take notes and at least food for thought, right? So 168 hours per week. Let's say you are great at getting 8 hours of sleep a day, so that's 56 hours. If and this is on the average, it varies by individual, but think about the amount of hours that get used up with what and the amount that you may be wasting. Let's say the average work week is 40 hours. It could be more, sometimes it is, but it's a medium. So then that leaves 35 hours for your average maintenance activity. So you have to shower, you have to eat, you have to drive back and forth. Those are the normal things. So that's 35 hours. So that leaves you with a lot of hours, 35 hours every week so that's like a 5-hour a day average that you can carve up plenty of time. I mean, if you give yourself 1 hour a day for just you, if you do nothing else, I mean, you could spend those 35 hours, if you can divide them up into hobbies that you've never done, study something new, learn something new, keep your mind and your life growing and evolving. Work on your personal growth and personal development. Where are your gaps that you need to fill? You obviously have strengths, but you have some things that could be better, so work on those. Play with your hobbies. Do something that's going to make you the better you, the ideal you that you want to be. Start being that ideal you now. Every day, get up and say to yourself, what is the best me that I can be today? What if I could think of the grandest version of me, what would that be? And let me go be that today. Play with it, pretend, act in your own world and be that person. Don't just wait. I mean, that person may never come unless you start being that person now. So carve out time for taking care of yourself. And I do encourage that you pick an activity for that hour without anybody else. I mean, if you must include another living being in that activity, let it be an animal, not a human, because it's a whole different experience. And learn to be with yourself. Learn to take care of yourself, and learn what that means. What does it mean to you? What do you need that would really nourish you? What would nourish your soul at a level that isn't destructive, constructive? Because when we get burnt out and we reach out for the extremes because we're so desperate for something to make us feel good, then we go do things that are not, we'll eat bad food, maybe drink, drugs, whatever, but those deplete us more. So that's not the point. The point is to take a pause, a big major pause, and say, well, what is my pattern rolling into every day that I'm used to, it's almost running me versus me running my life runs me. How can I take my authority back and schedule myself differently? Because you have time, your energy, and money. So figure out how you spend those 3 aspects of your energy, of the whole available resources that you have. Those are your resources, your time, your energy, and your money. And oftentimes, your time and your energy get pissed away with nonsense, like scrolling mindlessly on a Facebook feed just to seeing the stupid things people are putting, and then you get caught up in that. Next thing you know, you lost an hour or 2. Or it can be cumulative, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. So anyway, you get the point, right? So 35 hours every week available for you to fill them differently. And I would suggest that you figure out what new thing you can do. It's something you've never done before. For sure, I would recommend try a new therapy because your body needs to be taken care of. And we can all do better with taking care of our bodies because the body is the vehicle that carries our experience wherever we go. So, you got to give that priority. Don't give it over priority because really self-actualization is an inside job. So while yes, take care of your physical body because you don't want to be distracted by aches and pains and problems, it is both internal and external. So I would say, in addition to all these changes you're going to make to your schedule, add one brand new therapy for yourself that you've never had before, or that you've had before and you really liked it and you gave it away for the sake of helping somebody else or, doing something else with your time. So acupuncture, if you've never had it, try it. If you've had it before and you haven't had it in a long time, get back to it. Make it maybe a regular type of self-care habit. I highly recommend, because that gets your energy in balance in so many ways that this is not beyond the scope of this conversation, at a very deep core level. So I recommend it beyond words. Go to a chiropractor because your power center is your spinal cord, and if it's misaligned, you're not getting the energy you need to function. So for your organs and every part of your body to work properly, the electricity has to get there. You don't want to be a dim bulb in the new year. So get your alignment, get your body working in proper condition, but specifically have that nervous system is what powers you. So make sure that it's working properly and it's in alignment, and there's no knots or twists and turns that are impeding that flow. Okay, get a massage. All of these go together because you want to loosen up those tissues that have all the stress, emotional blockage, and emotional chemicals that are just sitting there as toxins. So flush all of that out. Start the year free and clear of all that old stuff. Get some energy healing. There are several modalities, and you can find all of these easily. That could manifest as, Reiki is my favorite. Oops, I banged on the microphone. Sorry if I ruined that. It is a very easy, comfortable experience, and we had a show about that, so you can go back and look at that if you want to. It is on YouTube, so you can go back to the Reiki show and kind of get an idea for those that don't know. And last but not least, the distance between who you are and who you aspire to be is the space between your ears, because it's your mindset. Your mindset about who you are, who you think you are, your conceptions, your misconceptions. If you can do it, if you can afford it, find yourself a good psychotherapist that you trust, get a recommendation. Don't just go to anybody, but work on your mind. If you need help, you don't need to do it forever, but just to get you on track so you can get into the right frame of mind to handle the situations that you have not been able to break patterns from. That be with yourself, at home with your family, with your friends, with your relationships, the whole thing. So basically, it's a matter of refurbishing yourself for the new year so you can start really making a change. And changing yourself is the only way that you're going to change the world around you. Because getting distracted with external stimulations and looking as we think we have all the answers for everything that's going on out there, and in some cases that may be true, but I would strongly recommend focusing on finding the answers for you. So you can really get to that point that you all have always wanted to aspire to. Give yourself the gift of you. So self-care is multidimensional, but you really have to start somewhere, and start with clearing your schedule. Clearing your schedule of unnecessary activities that just waste the day, and then at the end of the day is 90% or 99% the same as the day before. So and there is truth to that. I mean, if you think about it, and I'll give you this little bit of trivia. 90%, we have a certain amount of thoughts that we think on a daily basis. And 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as we thought the day before. So if you think the same way, then you behave the same way, you feel the same way, then you're having the same experiences over and over, day after day after day after day. And we go back to that quote from Einstein that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expect things to change. And so the point is, they cannot change externally until you change your own behavior patterns. So try playing a game with yourself and see, well, if I was a different person, or had a different personality, that because you're not hardwired to who you are. You think you are, but you're not. You can certainly play with the idea of changing the way you behave, and you can almost make a fun game out of it. And people might say, "Oh, well, you're not yourself today," and you say, "That's right." You know, because you may be behaving differently, speaking differently, saying different, expressing yourself in a different way. Responding to things in a different way instead of reacting to things in the old way. But anyway, the point is that you don't have the wherewithal for any of these opportunities for making shifts unless you fill up your own tank and take care of yourself, because you are your own asset. So self-care is your number one responsibility. Nobody can do it for you. Just like nobody can think for you, nobody can feel for you, nobody can really take care of you. I mean, yes, you can occasionally get somebody to take care of you, but usually that happens when you let things get so far out of balance that you actually get sick, and then you actually need somebody to take care of you. So that's not the point. You need to take care of yourself because that's your responsibility. Your number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, responsibility is to take care of you. And then if you address that, then how much more of you is there for everything else, right? So let's start the new year with being a new you, free and clear of all the old baggage that we had agreed to let go of because it's not serving, and creating that new schedule of new activities. And I didn't say more activities. In fact, I'm inviting you to have less activity, less busy outer output and more input. So bringing in more energy within, getting to quiet time. Go for a long nature walk alone or with your dog. Again, the emphasis is alone, not with other people, because that's an external distraction. You get into a conversation and you're not really in your own mind, in your own heart. You're not going within. So go within. Get comfortable with that quiet. It's going to take practice because you don't have the habit, and it's going to be hard because the world is right now. It's set up to take your attention away from you, and your attention is your power. So bring the focus back within toward you and fill up your tank first. When you're full to overflowing and you are at your better potential, then think of what you can bring forth and how much more you can offer, because then you can create. Then you have the energy available because you got rid of all the... It's like a computer, right? You know, this is a perfect analogy. So look at your computer. How many times do you have to delete stuff? Uninstall programs that are just taking up space on your hard drive. So do that with yourself. Okay? Think of yourself, you are a computer. We are in a way a computer. Computers were fashioned after us. So delete the old, install the new. create more storage space and more bandwidth for you to install the new programs that are going to get you better results for 2018. And the new programs that you install, make them be nourishing and caring for you. Install them for you, and when your operating system starts working more smoothly because you have the right things in place, then you function better. You have more energy, your health will improve, you have more wisdom available, and you're working not from stress hormones that are just running you instead of you running yourself. And you can actually take your life back and live the way that you want to live and be who you want to be. Start being that person. This is no dress rehearsal. That's over. It's time to do everything now. So go get your life. Or better yet, bring it in. Let it in. Let it come to you by filling up your own tank. All right? So those are my 2 cents to start the year off on the right foot. Self-care, protect the asset, because you're the asset. You're the asset for you, and it's your responsibility. So do it. If you have any thoughts you want to share, email me at essentiallivingwithpilar@gmail.com. I welcome comments. So if you care to share, by all means, that would be awesome. And I will be asking and watching to see what you do with these suggestions. So get out your notebook, get out your schedule, and get on it. And I'll see you next time.